Let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're deconstructing the absolute masterclass in psychological terror that is Arjun's 2 a.m. arrival at Bonpur station. You know the setup, right? A totally mundane, relatable situation, just getting off a train at a sleepy station. But watch how meticulously this narrative strips away every ounce of logic and safety. It literally plunges both the protagonist and us, the audience, into pure, unadulterated suspense. Just listen to this line. Here, the silence also seemed to make a sound. I mean, that instantly drops us into a void. When you strip away that background hum of civilization we're also used to, our brains start straining to fill the gap. By highlighting that the silence itself was loud, deafening, really, the story trips our primal instincts. It's telling us loud and clear, Arjun has stepped out of the world of the living and into a vacuum where entirely different unseen rules apply. Which brings us to our first theme, the sound of silence and the sheer absence of normalcy. Think about the exact timing here, 2 a.m. Now, in our modern world, getting in late is usually just a minor annoyance. You pull out your phone, you hail a ride, no big deal. But stepping off a train at exactly 2 o'clock in the morning into a space completely wiped clean of city noise, just a few flickering lights and a cold wind, that instantly tears away the safety net of the modern world. The train, which basically represents motion, technology, safety, just pulls away and leaves him behind. In seconds, he goes from a crowded train car to absolute chilling isolation. And that temporal and spatial isolation, that is step one in completely dismantling a person's psychological defenses. And this sets up a brilliant clash between Arjun's logical, modern expectations and the paralyzing reality of being utterly stranded. He expects the infrastructure of the world to be there waiting for him, right? An auto rickshaw, a clear road, a quick, easy journey to his grandfather's house. But reality? Reality delivers an empty station road swallowed by deep, deep darkness. This massive cognitive dissonance, that gap between what his logical brain expects and what his eyes are actually seeing, creates this immediate, rising panic. He's trapped into transitional space, a threshold, and he has absolutely nowhere to go. Moving on to part 2, we meet the uncanny guide through a sudden, jarring appearance. Now, the crucial thing to note here is that this old man looks human, sure, but the specific sensory details we get, they signal our primal instincts that something is deeply, deeply wrong. He just suddenly appears in the darkness out of absolutely nowhere. He's dressed traditionally, right, in a red dhoti kurta with a white mustache, which honestly should be a comforting, familiar sight in a village setting. But then we get the hook. His eyes are unnaturally glowing in the dark, and he's just observing Arjun silently, without blinking. It's textural uncanny valley. He's close enough to human to be recognizable, but just off enough to trigger massive internal alarm bells. And then we get this chilling line of cryptic dialogue that just shatters whatever fragile grasp on reality Arjun still has left. When he asks the old man if he lives there, the guy replies, "Only those who return late can see me." I mean, think about the terrifying implication there. It implies that Arjun's vulnerability, the fact that he's late, that he's isolated, has actually unlocked a hidden, terrifying layer of the world. He hasn't just missed his ride home. He has slipped through the cracks of the normal world into a place where the supernatural operates totally out in the open. By offering to walk with Arjun to the village, the old man totally weaponizes Arjun's desperation. He makes the terrifying unknown seem like literally the only viable path forward. The old man casually notes that some roads aren't meant to be walked alone. Arjun knows this guy is unnerving. He feels the dread in his gut. But the alternative? Standing completely alone in the pitch-black void of the station road? That feels even worse. It is a brilliant narrative trap. Logic has completely failed him, forcing him to actively choose to walk alongside his own nightmare. Which leads us perfectly into Section 3, the Midnight Tea Stall, a highly unlikely location. So look at how fast these unnatural elements start stacking up. First, they stumble upon a brightly lit tea stall in the middle of a completely dark, desolate jungle at past 2 in the morning. That alone makes zero sense. Second, there's a man sitting there who just stares at Arjun silently, without blinking, totally echoing the eerie vibe of the old man. And third, the tea seller starts throwing out these cryptic, menacing warnings. This visual compounding of weirdness perfectly mirrors Arjun's rising, inescapable panic. It's not just one strange occurrence anymore, you know? It's a highly coordinated environment of dread. And then the tea seller's cryptic warning shifts the horror from just a scary location to a targeted trap. When Arjun insists he's just there to see his grandfather, the man on the bench smiles, and the seller says, In some places, not people, but fate waits. That completely strips away Arjun's agency. It suggests the night itself called him there. His arrival wasn't just a scheduling mistake. It was a predestined appointment with something malevolent. The psychological terror here is that chilling realization that you are not the protagonist of your journey. You are the prey. Let's push into section 4 now. Voices in the dark and a full-on sensory attack. What is incredibly fascinating to me here is the psychological gaslighting happening in real time. Arjun clearly hears this terrifying weeping coming from the pitch-black forest, right just outside the lantern's light. But when he panics, the tea seller calmly tells him it's just vaham, an illusion or paranoia. By telling Arjun that his tired mind is just creating auditory hallucinations, these eerie inhabitants make him doubt his own sanity. And that right there is a core tenet of psychological terror, making the victim believe they can no longer trust their own senses. This brilliantly forces us, the viewers, to constantly bounce between these two extremes right alongside Arjun. Is it rationalization? Is it really just the wind, the rustling trees, and extreme physical exhaustion playing tricks on a tired mind? Or is it pure terror, a hostile, supernatural environment actively closing in on him? By maintaining that tightrope of ambiguity, the story totally hooks us. We're trying to solve the puzzle of his survival, while the dread just steadily mounts. Finally, we reach section 5, Never Look Back and the Desperate Escape. As Arjun grabs his bag to just bolt down the dark path toward the village, the old man gives him one final, terrifying directive. It forces us to ask, what actually happens if you look back? The old man points to the path and tells him to go straight, but under no circumstances should he look behind him. It's a classic primal folklore rule, sure, but placed right here in this high-tension psychological gauntlet, it carries an immense, suffocating weight. When Arjun hesitates and asks why, the old man delivers this absolutely devastating line, "Some things are only visible from behind." Wow. That perfectly illustrates the ultimate psychological horror. It weaponizes the unseen. By saying this, the old man ensures that the space directly behind Arjun, and honestly, his own imagination, becomes his greatest threat as he runs. Every rustle of the leaves, every gust of cold wind, every single heartbeat in his ears now belongs to whatever might be lurking just over his shoulder. The fear is no longer in front of him. He's internalized it. If we map this out chronologically, you can really see the relentless escalation. Look at this. At 1:45 a.m., he is completely safe, just looking at his phone on the train. By 2 a.m., absolute isolation. By 2:15, he is walking with an uncanny entity. By 2:30, he is psychologically trapped at an impossible tea stall. And by 2:40, he's fleeing for his life without daring to turn his head. It takes a completely mundane journey and warps it into a frantic fight for psychological survival in under an hour. The pacing is just relentless. It gives neither the character nor us a single moment to catch our breath. So, as we wrap up this explainer on psychological terror, the story leaves us with a deep, lingering sense of unease. It takes our everyday fear of the dark and elevates it, suggesting that the dark isn't empty. It's occupied by things that only reveal themselves when we are at our absolute most vulnerable. So, as you turn off the lights tonight, think about Arjun's 2 a.m. arrival, the deafening silence of that station, and ask yourself this: are we ever truly alone in the dark, or is it just waiting for us to look back? Keep questioning what's really there in the shadows, and I'll catch you next time.